My name is Mark Thompson. We are now here in north central Iowa in Webster County, about 100 miles northwest of Des Moines. And we are in the Des Moines Lobe of flat black soils, highly productive. We have been strip till, no-till farming in this part of the world now for a little over 20 years. And we started incorporating cover crops into our soils, into our rotations here between about 7 years ago was the first time that we had cover crops. And we've been experimenting with different mixes, timing, applications. The last few years now we've been involved in raising our own seed. We raise cereal rye for seed production, and we've also experimented with relay cropping. So we are actually standing in a soybean stubble field that we relay cropped this summer. So we had rye that we took to maturity with soybeans growing underneath. We harvested the rye at approximately the 20th of July and then harvested the soybeans at normal time this fall. This year we were extremely dry in this part of the country. The dry weather affected our relay cropped soybeans and rye this year. Not quite as good as we had hoped for, but still decent. This is a field that had been in continuous corn for over 20 years that we planted soybeans in, where we're at right now for the first time in that time frame. So we were excited about it. Market conditions changed it, but right now the cover crop is growing. We have a mix of oats, rye, and rapeseed growing in here right now. It's a little sparse because of the dry weather, and we're hoping here. The one unique part about this field is we had 2 inches of rainfall here about 36 hours ago, and it's been cool and cloudy since then, but the conditions are still good. We're able to be out here in the field because of the soil structure and what we've been able to do here over the years. Yeah, so we're standing in the field right now. This is where we did the relay cropping. So most of the rye that you see behind me is volunteer rye that came from the harvest in July. That's why it's got the size, and it's got excellent root mass already established. Now the 2 inches of rain that we did have only soaked up about 3 inches because we were so dry, but we have been able to get some pretty good structure over the years where we've been able to do a lot of things. We've got excellent structure of the soil, the soil PEDs, and we've been able to do a lot with it. The night crawlers have already, you can see the holes from the night crawlers, but they've moved lower now with the cooler temperatures. We've got a lot of the structure of the rye already going here. The soybeans here were harvested about 2 weeks ago, and so a little bit later than normal in this part of the country, but did a nice job. So one of the biggest things that I've seen over the years of doing what we've been doing, and now especially since we've incorporated the cover crops, is just the structure of our soil. This is a Nicolette soil that we're standing in right now that has a tendency to be a very tight and cloddy soil when it's wet. And the big thing that we've been able to do is take from that structure to a crumbly, beautiful structured soil. Extremely high productive. It's our highest CSR soils that we have in Webster County, and that's all been done with the no-till and now with cover crops incorporated into it, strip till. It has been continuous corn for so many years that we've had a high organic matter. This field right now runs about 4.5% to 5% organic matter, which we've been able to double since we started doing this. Bottom line's been excellent for us. This whole system that I started years ago was basically for economics. I looked at strip till, no-till as a labor savings and economics to cut out tillage. So now we're standing in a field of, this was where we had rye straight production. So we raised rye for seed. This was harvested approximately the 23rd of July. We came right in that night, harvested and baled up the straw, and then we drilled beans the next morning. Trying to double crop soybean. So we have volunteer rye growing right now, and the soybeans, they got up, and then we had a killing frost at the end of September, and they didn't make it. So they ended up being soybean cover crop along with the rye. The thing that we've noticed is the excellent from the legume, the nodulation, and things that we brought back into this field. This has actually been in rye production now 2 of the last 5 years. We've raised seed rye off of this field. So it's working well. The structure's, again, very good. One of the main things we've seen with the cover crop is the infiltration rate of our heavy downpours that we've had the last few years up until this year, to where we have very little ponding anymore in our soils. Even though this farm does have some pockets on it, and it does have some roll to it, but we've minimized the amount of standing water we've had on these farms drastically by using the residue, the crop residue, and the cover crops. On this farm, on this field, the rye, we raised for seed, so we have all our own seed that we use on the rest of the approximately 900 acres of crop ground that we seed, and the straw. We sold the straw off of here too, which is a good money maker. And the soybeans that we used here were discard soybeans from the local elevator that they were getting rid of. So it was just cost of seeding. Yeah, I've been the oddball out here for years since we've started this whole system. We're in a highly intensive tillage area, black flat soils of north central Iowa. It doesn't bother me. You have to have a kind of a thick skin to be one of the first people to do this kind of stuff. I've always had a different outlook on life. It was something I learned from my grandfather. He was always an innovator and did a lot of new things when they first came out in the last 100 years. And he gave me that spirit, and I've kind of incorporated that into what we do here over the last 20 years. So I wish he was still alive to see it, because I think he would be very impressed with some of the things that we're doing here. He quit moldboard plowing back in the 60s, and we've taken that and added to it over the last 40 years. So now we're looking at some of the equipment that we utilize in my operation. Like I said, I don't farm huge, but I try to be efficient. So we strip till all of our corn and we no-till our soybeans. So here's just a little shot. I do run a Soil Warrior for my strip till machine. We have the capability to variable rate our strips as far as our fertility of one product. So I just have a single bin that we mix everything together and then put it on at a variable rate. The Soil Warrior machine is a coulter machine, so that it allows us for quick, fast spring strips. We only do spring strip tillage on our farm. And so it's a coulter machine that we run anywhere from 2 to 4 inches deep. We pull it quick and fast. This machine averages between 9 and 10 mile an hour when we're strip tilling, and makes for quite the efficiency in our system. We also we have an older planter that we use, nothing fancy, but it makes a beautiful seed bed, and it plants very well. So it works good for us. It is a pneumatic. We built it. I had it built to certain specs. It does use air pneumatics for down pressure, has the big airbags on it. I also have air actuated row cleaners, which is, I think, the most important part of strip till, is to be able to clean the residue off before I make my seed zone. And so we do that on this system all in one using the pneumatics. So it works good for that. Yeah, this machine is only 20 foot wide, so it's 8 row 30, but we run it fast, and I can cover the same ground that I used to do with my 12 row 30 that I had before because of the speed. And it works great. The higher the speed, the better job it does, actually. Yeah, I've had several strip till machines over the years from when we started. We started with a combination coulter machine, then we went to a knife machine. We had a few of those. I do a lot of continuous corn, so I needed a machine that could handle the residue. The coulter was the best system for that. And this machine, I invested in this a few years ago. It's not cheap, but it does exactly what I want. It's built to last, and it's a strip till machine I'm going to have for years to come. I can upgrade the technology on it as it changes, and the speed of the unit as far as how it works does a beautiful job, and it handles continuous corn beautifully.